My name is Kevin Haldon, and this is the Nerdly Out Loud podcast, and these are the Romford sessions. And as you can see, I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Spencer Hawken of the Romford Festival and the Romford Horror Film Festival. How are you, Mr. Hawken? How are you tonight?
I'm very well, thank you very much, my good friend from the north.
My good friend, to the north of the wall. Yeah, winter is coming. Well, what are you going to do? So, well, not today. It's about 21 degrees outside, and I am feeling it in here. But how's it down there? Everything nice and warm for you down there?
So hot. It's so hot. You forget how hot it is in the southeast. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's been restless sleep for the last couple of nights. And then going out first thing in the morning, walking the dog before like going to work and just like coming home, drowned in sweat. Yeah, that's attractive.
Isn't it?
Absolutely.
So first of all, man, the Romford Horror Festival. Let me just introduce the episode first. This is pretty much a little bit of a catch up with Spencer, because obviously I don't really get a chance to get down there, being that it's 4.5 hours away from me by train, and COVID's everywhere. So I would rather just stay in my little safe cave and do as many interviews as I possibly can. But we will be doing an interview in a little bit. We are just waiting on our guest arriving. I think he's going to be on in about 10-15 minutes. It is Mr. Mark Williams from the documentary VHS Forever, and he's going to be coming on to talk about that. And Spencer had the pleasure of showing the movie at the festival, so I wanted to catch up with him first. How did the festival go, Spencer?
It went really, really well. It made me quite emotional.
Nice.
How well it went. Because a film festival, knowing Romford Film Festival, and like the first year we had a lot of people turn up because it was unknown, and then the second year the people that turned up for the first year that thought actually this probably isn't for me didn't come, so then you're kind of rebuilding a new audience.
Yeah.
And then slowly over the course of the year the Romford Film Festival has become what it has become. So of course I expected similar with the Romford Horror Festival. But we, technically speaking, sold out the screen.
Nice.
I say technically speaking because, I mean, anyone that was there will know that there were lots of gaps. But the gaps were social distancing gaps.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we were originally supposed to be in screen 3. We sold out screen 3. Then we moved into screen 4. We sold out screen 4. So then we had to move to screen 2. And if we'd sold 5 more tickets, we would have moved into screen 1. And screen 1 is like the mega screen. I just unbelievable. Such lovely people. I said the other day on Facebook, the nicest people in the world sit in the horror community.
Definitely.
Because, they forgive, they forget, they enjoy, they love. They're brought together by passion. We had a couple of little glitches on a couple of films. Smiling Woman weirdly glitched and then played again, so it was like it was almost like part of the Ring cycle. So that was interesting. And then Human Traffic played when it wasn't supposed to play. And what was the other thing? Exorcist, we just kept turning the volume out because it was like someone had fallen on the volume control, and it kept getting quieter and quieter, so we kept pumping it up. And then by the time it got to the end of the film, people were literally blasted out at the end by the speaker system. But no, it was good, it was great, and the people loved it, and they enjoyed all the independent films. We introduced them to some stuff like Manos, Hands of Evil, which was literally the talk of the festival. That and Extraneous Matter, which we kind of touched upon last week, which is a great Japanese film about a woman who has a sex squid in her wardrobe. And yes, I kid you not, I did say that correctly. She had a sex squid in her wardrobe. utter nonsense, but great 20-minute short film, and got a really good laugh at the end. Interestingly enough, talking of really good laughs, Parker, the film that I championed last year from the normal film festival, we re-showed that, and that got a really big laugh. There's a bit at the end which you kind of need to see it. And yeah, it got a really good laugh. It got a round of applause instantly. It was great. It was great. We showed some amazing movies, Rookie Baby, The Whooper Returns. We had the VHS Forever, obviously, and Bloodshed. I mean, what an opener for a film festival, Bloodshed. This very, very emotional, kind of spiraling out of control story that you just don't know where it's going. And it's so beautifully cinematic. So that was fantastic. But yeah, everyone had a really nice time, lots of chat. Really, really pleased because Paul Cotgrove, the guy who's behind Horror on Sea, he turned up to support us.
Nice.
Which was lovely. And there was a lot of people from Horror on Sea. There was a lot of people from Fright Fest. Some people I've known on Facebook for years but never been able to meet. And some people I haven't seen for years. So Dandelions, Jason came with his friend Ed. And I've not seen Jason for probably a decade. So that was really nice to catch up and have those conversations with people. And just a really lovely, lovely time. And of course, I must mention the wonderful Eileen Dietz, who, after we started The Exorcist, was literally everywhere. Every single film we showed, she popped up at some point. And then, of course, she gave the first award, which was for Best Film, which was for Bad Candy, which we spoke about a week ago today.
Yeah, and man, that feels like longer than a week ago since we've done that. I mean, I was keeping an eye on the social media, and you guys were smashing it as always. Like, I know I've only been involved since last year, but you guys really are on your game when it comes to the social media and the interviews you put out, and it's been awesome to see. I really do wish I could have got down there, and the little award ceremony, I loved that, and I love the fact that you even gave Extraneous Matters the Sex Squid Award. That I know we joked a little bit about it, but
what more do you want? Where can you go that has a Best Sex Squid Award? Romford. I'm really gutted that Peter's not here tonight because I was hoping he was going to show us his sex squid.
I mean, I don't know what to make of that, but you're right as well, and it is a really, really strong opening year in terms of movies. I was quite blown away by, because obviously you kind of, not that you set the bar low or anything or set the expectations low, but you were like, look, this is our first year. Let's just see what comes through. We're not entirely sure who's going to submit and everything like that. And it was just sort of like, just keep an open mind. But a lot of the stuff that came through, I loved watching. And I just thought, you know what, this is some really, really strong stuff for a nice little horror festival. And they are the best fans. They truly are. And they always have been. Horror is it's a niche of its own, and it's just awesome. So I'm really glad it went well. And I'm really glad the first year was great.
One of the funniest moments for me was just everyone's reaction when they came out of that screening of Manos. Like, so many people walking out the door shaking their head. And what amazed me was, like, these are diehard horror fans and they've not seen the film. So to have introduced a diehard horror group of horror film fans to a film they'd not seen before, that was like a particular what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it was an accolade that
definitely
achieved. It was great. Just to turn around and say, hey, there's this film, it's like 50 years old and you've not seen it, and now you're talking about it. And I did laugh because I noticed some people who came to the festival added me on Facebook. They were sharing a link of Torgo's theme, and Torgo is the guy in in Manos, who is basically the real life version of Mr. Tumnus from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were sharing this theme all over the place, so it's great. I mean, it even got people that are saying they're going to like make themselves a copy of the cape for Halloween.
That's so cool, man. What more could you ask for your first year?
Absolutely.
So, in terms of everything you saw when you got to watch, because I'm assuming you watched pretty much all the movies in the screen and everything. What I did a little kind of like my 5 picks on the last episode because I never really got a chance to do it on the first episode. I was keeping it with you guys. What was kind of your best sort of experience seeing on the big screen wise of all these movies?
Well, I've got to say, Extraneous Matter.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've already mentioned it, but you can't. You know, it's a serious film, but it's made with a comedic art, you know, and then to see that the audience engaged with that and took that on board, that was really good. And obviously Parker, again, to hear the laughter, because, you know, like when you watch Parker, I mean, I don't mean to downplay this film, but, you know, I'm pretty much the only person that was out there like flying the flag for Parker. And you do question whether you are in the wrong and everyone else is in the right. And then to suddenly like to hear that laughter and to think to yourself, actually, do you know what? I shouldn't question myself. I shouldn't put myself in that scenario where I'm questioning whether I've made a right choice. That is a film for horror fans. It's not perfect. The focus issues aren't perfect, but do you know what? The punches, they really, really work, and everyone appreciated it. And I think, yeah, that was a good hit.
I don't want to give any spoilers, but anybody watching this, if you want to come back for more episodes, which we certainly hope you do, we will be talking to the people that made Parker very soon. I've not told Spencer this yet, but it's organized. We will be talking about Parker, and the way I got across that was I told him that it was a very big topic of debate during discussions on the panel. And it was. We kind of went back and forth on that. And you're right, you were absolutely on board with that movie from the get-go. And I think I was one of the ones that was just sort of on the fence. And then there was a couple other people that just kind of wasn't all that into it. So, but we'll get to that. You will get to see that interview. It will be awesome because everything we do is awesome. So what's next for Spencer in terms of the Romford Film Festival? Because that's only a couple of weeks away, man. Who on
earth thought it would be a good idea to just chuck both festivals in on 1 month? I figured last year we managed 7 days. We did a 7-day festival. So doing a 5 and 2 and splitting it with like 2.5 weeks between seemed like a good bet to me. Not one of my finest hours, but by the same token, it allows us to get back on track.
That's the hope, and I definitely hope that we are back on track properly next year. And in the meantime, obviously, we've got a couple more of the Romford horror sessions coming through. I've got a couple more confirmed, so we will be doing some more episodes. But then we will get balls deep into our Romford Film Festival interviews and episodes, and we're going to be bringing you a lot more and hopefully get some more of the guys on. Peter was supposed to be on, but he's away giving his vampire blood to the orphans. So yeah, he's doing his bit for the community, I guess. But Spencer, what we'll do is we will take a quick little coffee break or a vodka break, whichever is your cup of tea, and we will be back with Mark Williams to talk about VHS Forever.
See an advert in the Flesh magazine for Psychotronic Store. I just remember the great kind of graphic illustration of all kind of weird horror and 50s and B movies.
And in 1996, I was in Tower Records in Piccadilly, and there was a flyer and it advertised
We
about...
are now joined by Mark Williams, the director of VHS Forever. Once Upon a Time in Camden, I am mad.
Time in Camden, yeah.
Yeah, I've been on the drink already. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I've had a hellish day at work. It's 21 degrees outside.
That'll do, that's fine.
So, how are you today, Mark? And how was your time down in beautiful Romford?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Yes, back to more mundane work things this week, but the weekend was fantastic, and it was like sort of lightning flash. I managed to do the 3-hour round, well, 3-hour one-way trip to Romford. I've not been there since the 90s, but it was quite pleasant as well, and and they put me on the red carpet as soon as I got there, and lots of attention and 3 interviews done, and we showed the film, which hopefully everybody enjoyed, and but it felt a fairly decent audience, I think, as well, wasn't it? There, which was good, with all the restrictions and things, and then then the Q&A afterwards with Spencer, which was terrific. I really enjoyed that one. A few audience questions as well to keep us on our toes. That was cool. Yeah, no, really. I love it. I love all the attention.
Did you happen to check out any other movies at the festival, or if you did, what was?
Unfortunately, I didn't. I should have done, and but I had some colleagues with me as well. So we were sort of rushing around. We haven't seen each other for ages, so it was sort of come in, do our bits, and we went for a bit of lunch and a couple of beers afterwards. But,
too busy schmoozing, that's what it was.
Yeah, then I had another radio interview to do in the evening, so I had to go back to Borough and do that quickly, do a quick introductory radio show. So, it's really good. It was good. Because I come all the way from, the South Coast, I have to sort of make the most of the London time if I can do, But I think if I'd have known, more about the I would have probably booked the weekend, and it was... Trouble is, everything's been so up and down,
yeah, exactly. It's hard to plan these days.
Yeah. But that was cool, and everybody looked after me, and that was great,
I guess the first question I want to ask about VHS Forever is, can you give our listeners, our audience, our viewers, a little taste of what the movie is about in your own words?
Yeah, sure. This one, I mean... Back in 2014, we filmed the first VHS Forever movie, which was called Psychotronic People. We sort of started off, we want to tell the story about the infamous Psychotronic Store in Camden town, which virtually it's sort of a underground type establishment there, right by Camden Market or near the tube station, and and it's all about the shop and its customers, and and about some of the celebrities that visited as well. But with the first movie, we sort of deviated a bit because we got so many people wanting to be interviewed. People like Carolyn Monroe and other people of that ilk. That we sort of, I think we went a little bit off track, but people enjoyed it. But the second film, VHS Forever, Once Upon a Time in Camden, we're more on track this one. We're telling the story using the customers who we call the psychotronic punters. And they sort of tell the story of their their visits there. And we were lucky enough to get people like David Gregory of Severin to film interviews in LA. So I mean, it was just luxury. I sort of wrote all the questions for him, and he said, right, I'll go and film that. And he did a lovely job, a nice pile of VHS by the side of him, and which was really cool, And then we've got Jane Giles in there who wrote the Scala book, so she was sort of integral because I think part of the early Psychotronic, certainly with the early owners, they used to do a festival at the Scala Cinema, the late Scala Cinema, but. Yeah, they was really interested, and they gave some, some good sort of background stories about, a little bit about Palace Pictures as well. So, and the rest of the guys really are sort of, the hardcore customers, if you like, there, So, it was cool. Yeah. Yeah.
So much like I'm assuming both of you guys on the call right now, I used to treat my local video shop as a bit of a mecca, a bit of a safe haven.
Oh,
It was my place to be. So
yeah.
for anyone who doesn't know Camden very well, or doesn't know that era very well, because there are lot of young people now who don't happen to know
Yeah.
what a video store is, why don't you let us know what Psychotronic truly was to you and how you found it?
Well, it was sort of a little sort of emporium of forbidden delights, I think you probably call it. You know, I think one of the guys says in the film, you know, it was like one of these little occult stores where they'd sell gremlins and things. I think that's
Mm.
genius. And, but yeah, you could basically go in there. I mean, you know, lots of props, lots of memorabilia, especially when they moved from Camden to the bigger shop up at the Hanway Street, which is just down the back of what was on the back of the old Virgin Records store, you know, off Oxford Street. So and they basically had loads of props there and things like that. It was a massive, you know, really massive shop there. But yeah, I'm going off track a bit now, aren't I? Really. But yeah, you know, it's you'd go there to get some of the sort of rarer movies. I mean, at the time we had the Draconian Video Recordings Act brought in, which was about 1984. So, you know, a lot of uncertified videos were just, you know, effectively banned. You know, you couldn't get, you know, perhaps a Russ Meyer movie, you know, Faster Pussycat Kill, something like that,
Nice.
you know, or, you know, even sort of obscure horror films, science everything, you know, if it didn't have a certificate, you know, it wasn't available to rent. So you probably go to Tony's shop and Bow's shop before. You go and buy it, you know, I think they did 2 films on one VHS for 15 quid or something. You know, a lot of money back then as well, you know.
Yeah.
No artwork, you know, just a tape by itself. But you get, you know, some of the more, you know, a couple of Russ Meyer films on there, for instance, or some of the more obscure films, perhaps some Herschel Gordon Lewis, you know, Blood Feast and things like that, you know. But they were the go-to place, really. If you're in Camden, I mean, I used to buy a lot of records as well there, so I'll go to Camden Market, and then we go to 3 Buck Street and down the dark stairs to
I love it.
it was a
Absolutely
very
love
small shop. It's like glorified basement, really, you know, on their storage basement. You know, and yeah, see what's on offer that particular week, really, you know. So yeah, it was good, and 9 times out of 10 they came up with the good. Once they knew you, of course, 'cause I think this is all about the. And also, when Tony took over, they had the secret back room where, you know, just in case they ever got raided. And I don't think they ever got raided. I think they were so off the map down in the basement that they got away with it. But once you knew the customers, he'd invite you to the secret back room. So it was very clever, really, because it was like you go through a little door, and then it was sort of located. There was a record shop above, so it's sort of located in the under the record the record shop.
Yeah.
So yeah, so even if they got raided, someone has nothing to do with us. It's yeah, and you know, all sorts of things. You know, you could buy, like, you know, a lot of American imports, NTSC tapes, things like that, VHSs, laser discs, you name it, Super 8 movies, everything there, really, you know, and yeah, toys.
see for any of you youngsters out there, by the way. So I mean, I was the tail end of sort of like the video shop, and I absolutely loved the video shop I worked in. It was just amazing, and you do get your customers that you know, the new releases that are coming or whatnot, you'll just give them it a couple of days early, and then they'll give you something in return. It was always that way. And now trying to explain what a video shop was to my 13-year-old daughter is just impossible. Like,
oh yeah, definitely.
It's like, what do you mean? Like, you couldn't just download it?
Yeah, it was sort of like a ritual to me. If I wasn't going out on a Friday night, whatever, then, you know, you go and go and get a takeaway curry before delivery. Back then, I should think, before they delivered.
Exactly.
And you know, on the way back, you go to the local video store, you know, which was great, you know, and pick up, see what they've got left. I mean, Friday night was a bad time, you know, because unless you knew them and you could reserve the tapes. You know, a lot of the good stuff will be out. So I think that's probably why it sort of fueled my interest in all these B movies, because there was always some unknown B movies sitting on the shelf there. You know, and I
Nice.
back when I was in London, I used to actually literally have a flat opposite Ritz Video, which was, I think they were another old video. They took over a big chain of videos there. Eventually Blockbuster took them over, and yeah, you can actually see it from the windows. That was great. What was that in stock there, you know? But that was sort of a ritual, really, you know. And I'd rent a couple of films, you know, a night, you know, on there, and yeah. But it certainly fueled. I mean, at the time, it was all horror and all sorts of things, exploitation movies and things like that. So yeah, it was ideal, really, you know. But yeah, it's showed nothing like it. I mean, hopefully they'll do a few. I think there's a few pop-up ones period, isn't there? You know, where you can rent.
Yeah, seems to be a new thing that people are trying out.
It's like vinyl, isn't it? It could well. I mean, it certainly come back, because some of the price of the tapes these days, you know, it's crazy. You know, it was yeah.
But I mean, it's sort of like you say, trends and things coming back around again, and you get that retro vibe. I mean, everybody's totally just sucked in by the 80s right now, and everybody really wants to see something that harkens back to that in the early 90s. So I don't know, video shops. And you know what? I'd go and rent a video right now. I definitely would. I miss that. I absolutely miss that.
You know, it's just an experience, isn't it? Really, I think, you know. And then after that became, you know, the boot fairs, because I think once they find I think a lot when the videos started up, there were lots of, you know, shops uncertified tapes. So once the video recording act came in, a lot of these little shops just closed. They couldn't afford to, you know, stock the certified versions. Or I think, you know, a lot of the distributors, you could change it over to 13 quid or something like that, you know, to get a certified cut version. But then and the tapes ended up at the boot fairs. So that was another weekend. I'd go down to it used to be a massive boot fair at Lamb's Farm, which used to be when I lived in Croydon, and you go down there, and you just couldn't pick up enough tapes there, you know. And it was like Evil Dead Original Palace cut version, but like £1 and things like that. Just absolutely incredible, really, isn't it now? And God knows how much they go for now, you know. Yeah, at least 50 quid, I'd imagine, on that one. But it was great, yeah. Sort of, but it's all like the thrill of the chase, really. Now it's not like, you know, everything's available streaming now. You can go, you know, on Amazon and watch stuff on Shudder and things. But you know, it was good just to go, oh my God, what's this here? You know, and I had some great finds, you know, back in the day. Pink Flamingos at a big fair in Croydon, you know. It's 50p, I think that one was.
That was going to be my next question. I was going to kind of get around to that. Is when you found this Psychotronic Store and the store in Camden, and your new people, shall we say, what was the first thing that you remember getting from there? And I suppose next question after that would be like, what is the best hidden gem that you found there?
Yeah, oh dear, that's a really tough question, isn't it?
It is. That's why I asked it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think probably the first thing, and I swapped it for some pre-certs because there was always lots of swaps. I think I got a longer version. It was the real rarity. It was an NTSC tape of Videodrome, David Cronenberg.
Nice.
But on MCA video, it was on these little cardboard boxes, you know, the very small little things, you know, these slip cover things. But it was a longer version. It was, you know, very heavily cut. I think it was very heavily censored originally over here on videotape, not for the cinema. But yeah, and then, you know, they did an even longer version, probably silly, you know, only a few seconds or a couple of minutes. But they did an even longer version for the unrated version for the US video market, you know, I think probably sell through or something like that, you know. So that was great, you know. I mean, I probably only watched it once, so, you know. And I think I also got probably a naughty bootleg copy of the John Woo movie Hard Boiled. That got censored by a few seconds, and somewhere somebody got hold of a time code, so there was a naughty sort of time code copy going down, doing the rounds there, you know. But yeah, it was great, you know. Just had that movie uncut, and probably the quality wasn't fantastic or anything like that, but it's still nice, you know. And then you show your friends, you know, at the weekend, you know. It's yeah. Yeah, and a few Laserdiscs, I think I got them from there as well. So Bruce Lee and things
Awesome.
like that, which were quite expensive. We pay about 40 quid or something like that each, you know. But that was the sort of going rate, really, you know, with that type of thing.
So when obviously this was one thing that I always wonder about documentaries is this is kind of a passion project, and you'd already
Yeah.
done the first documentary, so I guess you already sort of knew kind of the narrative you wanted to go down, because obviously you said you sort
Yeah.
of kind of strayed away from the story in the first one. But how long does it actually take to put together a documentary, and how hard is it to get all these interviews done and then put it together?
This, I think, you know, the first film, I think we made all the mistakes in the first one. I think it took about 9 months to shoot, something like that. You know, it was there was so many interviews, and we had too many interviews, I think, at one stage. So, but with this one, I think I knew. Oh yeah, we want to get such and such here, and I think I knew in my mind, you know, what I wanted with this one. And we actually shot it. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, David Gregory shot his bit in LA. We were very lucky there, professionally filmed and lighting and things. And then I went down to the, I think the first day I went down to the Camden Electric Ballroom, which is fantastic. You know, real sort of good atmosphere there. I don't know if you've been there at all. But so many bands have played. Every band has played there, so it was great. And you know, and they sort of Paul Brown, the guy who runs the film fairs, he just said, gave me sort of, you know, yeah, come down, bring the camera, find a little corner, and set the camera up. So I went down there on the 8th of September 2018. It's crazy. I thought I'd actually shot the movie in 2019, but it's been so long with lockdown and everything else, you know. Yes, I went in there, just did a whole day's filming, and then I came back on December the 8th, funny enough, of that year, 2018, and did some more pickup filming really on there, you know. And in between, I went down, I interviewed Bricky Baker over in Stratford in London, and that was, I think, it was on the 20th of October of 2018. So you know, and that was more or less it really, you know. It was, we've got one, you know, we kept moving people about to give it a more sort of production value, really, because nobody wants to see the same backdrops. I mean, they're very, I mean, you know, the fans are very interested in, you know, especially when we filmed at somebody's home, you know, in Mark Morris's video collection in the first film. They're very interested in, you know, behind the tapes. They could say, oh, he's got that, you know, there, or, you know, the backdrop's quite important. But we had a couple of standees, I think, for the Camden show, you know, so just keep moving people about and things, you know, some double interviews as well we did on there. But yeah. That was it worked out really well. So it was very easy. And then, you know, we spent probably another must be a few months on editing, I think, you know, almost 2 or 3 months, I think, you know. Picked it up in January of 2019, and then we had the first show in September of 2019 up in the West End. So we're very lucky, you know, to do that via Merlin Roberts and his Worldwide Weird as well, you know. So yeah, it was good, you know, plenty of opportunities. It's nice that people, you know, want to come and support this type of film. And this one was very experimental because we shot it on a couple of old iPhones. So it was very, you know, if it didn't work, that's fine, you know. But, you know, I wanted that sort of rough and readiness and the sort of sense of urgency we had with the first film as well, you know. But every time I see it, I think, oh no, I've got to edit that bit or do a little bit more, or you know, add an insert or two, you know.
It kind of shines through the grunge of the time, doesn't it? As well, it gives it that.
Yeah. I mean, going back to the first film as well, we tried. I mean, the whole plan was to film the whole thing on VHS, and we had two elderly cameras, which we did. I think we did a bit of filming initially with Tony M. Clark of Psychotronic, and then they both developed the same fault. So that was the end of that, you know. So it was a mad panic then to do it, you know. So we had some stuff on VHS, and you know, the rest was sort of digitally done really on there. So a bit of a mixture really on there. But best laid plans and all that, you know.
and all of that has led to a screening at the wonderful Romford Horror Film Festival,
Yeah,
where it
yeah.
went down really well. And from what
I
Spencer's
was
told me,
trembling. I was just trembling. I thought, what's going to look like a big, you know, because it's such, you know, it's unfortunately we showed us sort of an earlier print as well, a little bit of rougher, rougher print where I made edits afterwards on there, and you know, it was missing some inserts and things, you know, because we like to, you know, somebody mentions a film, so we'll put a still in the background or something on there,
Yeah.
you know. But I hope it wasn't too wild and woolly for people there. But they didn't chase me out of Romford. I thought I'd be chased out of Romford, you know, or something. Yeah, but you know, I like it when people say, well, you know, it tells a story. You know, you know, it's really interesting. We didn't, or we learned something from it. You know, I don't want to be boring and preaching to people or anything, but you know, it's nice.
Well,
So we
thing
didn't
is
know
as
that,
well,
you know.
it's a time that very few people right now really understand. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
that's true. Yeah, yeah.
Like that whole era and that whole, you know, like the video shop mentality, the clerk mentality, just as you say, on a Friday night, going in, and
Like a ritual.
half the time you didn't even know what you were going to leave with. You just went in and you were like, you know what, whatever's on the shelf, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
You don't get that now. You spend 2 hours trawling through Netflix and still don't find anything.
Oh, no, I
But-
just find it so bland, you know. I mean, you get
Exactly.
the odd film that is good, and I must admit, I do like Shudder. I mean, I have to say Shudder, you know, but they got some great stuff, you know, especially that the George Romero film they unearthed, you know, recently, you know, which is quite incredible, really, you know. But yeah, so very interesting.
So,
you know.
So what we're going to do is we're going to move into Spencer's little section. But before we do, give everyone a shout as to why they should watch this documentary.
Well, yeah, you know, if you're interested in the old VHS collecting era, then yeah, it's a documentary for you, really, you know. And you know, there's some interesting people giving their view of, you know, how they used to go there and shop, etc. There's a lot of humour in it as well, I think, you know, which is, you know, pretty universal. So yeah, you know, you might learn something, you know, you never know.
Exactly.
But, yeah, you know, hope everybody enjoys it. You know, I'm glad it was well received at Romford at the weekend as well.
Well, so I mean, I shouldn't go past mentioning that you can see it again at Romford.
Ah, yes,
Of
yes.
course, yeah.
So I was just looking at the website so that I get it exactly right as to when it's showing. So it's showing on Saturday the 26th at 9 p.m. And Mark, feel free if you've got an updated version to send it to me, and we'll turn it into a DCP, and then we'll let you have that as well.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Spencer, because I've actually uploaded this morning an amended version, so it's slightly shorter. It's a little bit tighter edit as well. So please, please feel free to download it, and I thought just in case you ask there, you know, so slightly lower quality, but yeah, I think it all helps with the grunginess, really, doesn't it? I think, you know, getting that.
Well, there you go. To anybody who was at the horror festival and got to see it, come back and take another bite of the apple, because we're going to show it again, and it's different. So
that was it. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's great. So remind me nearer the date, and I'll put some more publicity out, and you know, we've had a few radio plugs as well, which is quite good. So
nice.
It's nice when you got, you know, I'm not MGM, so I mean, I could do is just I could ask him a favour, or you know, it's just nice to get the publicity when you can, you know. And this is the problem, isn't it? I think for indie filmmakers, you know, you spend, you know, these labours of love, you know, you spend years on, and you just don't get the publicity, do you, at all? You know, it's the bigger movies that get it all the time, and it's a
tough nut to crack, definitely. And it's one of the reasons why at Nerdly, and obviously with the Romford Festival as well, we like to champion the sort of the more indie, the more lower budget, just the more interesting stuff, shall we say.
Yeah, I mean, did I mention the budget of the film, which is actually, it cost me £24.50. And that's just my fare coming to London, you know, from Bognor Regis. So you know, so it was really cheap. I think it must be I think I could probably go in the Guinness Book of Records. It's even sort of early John Waters and things like that. They spent more money on the film, I think.
That's so cool. So Spencer, you want to?
Yeah, sure. So, I've got a few questions, and I'm really going to put your mind
go on
to work here.
Yeah.
So maybe not in my first question, but moving on from the film, and I'm actually talking about you as a person and the sort of things that kind of worked for you. Tell us about the very first film that you sat and watched that was outlawed.
Oh, there now. You really hit me one there, aren't you? Really? I mean, my sort of background as well. I mean, I started off from school. I worked for a couple of major film companies, so it was like Cinema International Corporation, who became UIP, and then I went to work for Paramount Pictures as a projectionist. So probably doing the projection job, we had, I worked in Wardour Street when it was really busy, and a lot of the nasties and things like that sort of came that way, where they'd get one print in the country for the distributor, and then we'd show, the odd reel, or the odd film, see if it's worth picking up. I mean, a lot of the time they'll just watch the first reel or something, or the last reel, to just get their idea of, and again, back then video companies were sort of, desperate to pick up, but the first video nasty, I think it could be something like Nightmare in a Damaged Brain.
Okay.
Which again, because I sort of had friends who knew the David Hamilton Grant, a notorious producer who released it, and it was sort of crafty in a way, because he said, it's a new film from Scavellini, but nobody ever heard of Scavellini, so it sounded like this great art film. But they did a great preview up at the cinema in Oxford Street one Saturday night. So it was like a midnight show. I was lucky enough to get free tickets as well. So that was really cool. So we sat down, and I probably watched it was like the British Board of Film Censor approved version. And they were quite lenient with it. I was quite surprised. A lot of the gore was in there. Some of the more extreme stuff was taken out. And then a couple of weeks later, it turned up on as a video nasty there, in a longer print. And of course, I think the story goes that he got pinched for that, and I think he did 6 months inside as well. Just releasing this couple of little more shots of, I think it was some of the gruesome axe murders in it or something, on there, But that was one of the first, probably an Evil Dead as well, which I saw at the cinema originally. Then it was cut very, very heavily cut by the British Board of Film Censors, and then I think it got a simultaneously video release. So you could I actually worked in Wardour Street, so I'd go into Oxford Street, cross the road, go to the Virgin Megastore, and Palace Pictures had a little outlet shop there, so you could pick up an original 30 quid, brand new of Evil Dead, Happy at the cut version, on there, but yeah, it was good, a little trip down memory lane there, really, And then I think I had to see the rest of NAS, and I probably regret that now. They're not very good, are they?
Yeah. When it comes to, okay, I'll reword. I'm going to change that slightly. So, okay, we've had the video nasties come along. They've been outlawed. After that moment in time, what was the first video nasty that you got into your house?
Oh, again, probably Nightmare in the Damaged Brain. I think somebody had a copy. And I used to have people back at the time. I sort of had, I got a VHS recorder quite early because my dad was quite well off, so he treated me to a very posh Panasonic sort of a top loader, I think, on their lovely machine, which got stolen, unfortunately. But I had a few years, using that, which was great. And and I probably got a few, probably Nightmare in the Damaged Brain, something like that. Was one of the first ones. Then the other ones sort of followed, from boot fairs and things.
Okay. I have this, yeah, and kind of where I was thinking on this was, I have this very, very vivid memory of 14-year-old Spencer heading off to the video shop to rent Empire Strikes Back and leaving with my own original VHS of The Exorcist.
Oh my gosh, that was
Taking
rare.
it home. So basically, the guy that ran the video shop was just offloading these videos. So because
bargain bins, didn't you, in the corner?
yeah,
You know,
they'd had the visit, and it was like, we need to get rid of this stuff quick. I paid
Yeah.
£10 for it, and
Yeah.
I came home with it under my arm. And I always remember, some weeks later, someone smashed the window by that was at the side of the front door, and the police were coming round. And I remember my mum saying to me, "Hide that film. Hide that film." She said, "You're not getting me arrested because you've got that film." And I think that's the thing that people don't understand now, is that kind of level of paranoia that went along with owning these films.
Yeah.
And yes, while Exorcist probably isn't anywhere near as bad as the majority of them, it's still, that was my mum's instant thought. You've got to like hide that film. You've got to get that film out of the house.
Yeah, and I know a guy that hid them all under the bath as well, or something. You know, I think you had to hide them in the bath or under the bath. Taking the panels a bit extreme, isn't it? You know, and putting these
Absolutely.
under the. But yeah, you know, there was this, you know, draconian times, a bit of a cliche, I think, you know, the word draconian, but yeah, that was that. You know, you could get you could get easily pinched, I think, you know, for especially if you were sort of prolific and you were making copies and things like that, you know. And of course the distributors, the video distributors, didn't do themselves any favors with the sort of garish covers they had, you know, like oh gosh, Essex Experiment Camp and things like that, you know, and even some quite sort of tame films, you know, that have some, like The Killer Lights Candy with Kirby Matthews has a really sort of grueling cover with somebody's brains being shot out and things, you know. But of course, all the kids wanted to rent them, didn't they?
I always remember, it never got outlawed, but I remember a VTC release of Alien Terror.
Oh yeah.
And the front cover was one of the characters' head in the helmet, but with like the all the organs like hanging out because he'd been decapitated, and that was the front cover photograph.
Yeah.
And I found that absolutely fantastic.
I used to love those VTC tapes because those big sort of gold covers, didn't they? Those lovely gold spines. So I'd probably collect everything. Everything was cut on VTC. You were very lucky to get. I think early copies of Alien Terror were uncut. I think the initial batch, but then I think they did a double bill with Nightmare City on VHS as well. You could rent. So and they were both very heavily cut on there. You know. Now, I'm sure one copy of Nightmare City I had, it actually played one of the reels twice on there as well. Somebody had fallen asleep doing the transfer. You didn't really notice because the film's so sort of bizarre and surreal anyway, isn't it? And you got that ending, was it all a dream anyway? You know, oh well, it's just part of the part of the plot really. But that was great. And there's a great sort of really, you know, garish cover again. You know, it was. This is where they didn't do themselves any favors, did they? They weren't, you know, they weren't subtle at all. I don't think on there, you know. And I think they know the more gruesome the cover, the more likely they're going to, you know, rent to the kids or whatever. There, I think, you know, a lot of video shops didn't have any scruples. They're quite happy to rent them out to everybody, which is, but my local one, though, you know, you couldn't get anything, you know. Oh, you know, how old are you? You know, and they're very sort of tough, you know, getting anything. Certainly none of the nasties on there, you know. And I think by the time I was quite a late starter, I suppose, really. By the time the nasties sort of came and went, you know, they'd all been sold off to the boot fair guys, or you know, or in the bargain basement, and the rest of the stuff was sort of certified, you know, which is a bit of a shame. But you got the odd title came up, you know. It was a great time. thrill of the chase. I think it was good to find. Oh yeah, I've been after that. All trash
Oh,
really.
and that's the thing you miss as well, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
I remember growing up, the sticker albums where you always missed the certain stickers.
Oh yeah.
And it didn't matter how much you tried,
No.
you were always going to be missing those certain stickers. And the same kind of thing happened with videotape. I remember wanting to see Cannibal Holocaust because I'd read about it and I just so intrigued by this thing. And I think I waited 23 years before I actually got to see it. And then by the time I could see it and I'd ordered it, I think I ordered it from on DVD from a company in Japan. And then within a year of me ordering it, you could pretty much get it everywhere through the power of eBay.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I kind of miss about that passage of time is the hunt.
Yeah, it was all about the hunt. And I think, go back to the first film, there's a guy on there, Bruce Wilkinson, it's about, they went out hunting all over. And these guys are bit in North London, but they'll come to South London to try and find, certainly collectors like Lovely John as well. They'll go all over the place, and, I think one of my best finds, I think I was working over in the city and I think I had to go to a sweet shop or something in Tower Hamlets. And all of a sudden there was an old video rental shop there, probably nobody even bothered, and it was full of nasties as well, and I couldn't believe it. I think I had to write them a check, and they were like £2 each or something back in. So that was great,
Yeah.
They're just sitting there, it's just like the shop that time forgot, And this was well into the 90s, the early 90s, yeah.
So, kind of Desert Island Discs moment for you. So, of all the films you've ever seen, if you can take 5 films with you to your desert island,
oh dear,
what would those 5 films be?
Oh dear, probably not video nasty.
No, that's fine. We're trying to get an image of you,
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm probably I love all this horror stuff, and. But probably, the films that I really like, stuff like, Long Good Friday, which was fantastic. I love that. With Nail and I think I'll probably go for some real. What else could I go for on there? And certainly I'm a big Sam Peckinpah fan, so definitely be the Wild Bunch. I think, even though that's quite gruesome, isn't it? I think on there, definitely the Wild Bunch. I like the Squeeze, the film behind me as well.
Yes,
another great film there. And last but not least, Get Carter, Michael Caine. So going off topic a bit. Really.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
The nasties, back on the boat or whatever.
I mean, I
go back every year. I'll probably have a show, and. Yeah, but I suppose they've all got elements, haven't they? They're quite, some quite gruesome or violent, but not as violent as the video nasties, But
I mean, Long Good Friday for me has one of the most jaw-dropping final moments.
Oh yeah,
of film.
Yeah.
I remember watching that and the guy getting his ass slashed up with the machete. That did nothing to me. But those final moments of Bob Hoskins and Helen Mirren being separated, and just the knowing and the understanding of what was going to happen.
The way the camera focuses on Bob Hoskins' face, I think, and that's an acting masterclass, isn't it? I think. So I think he thought they weren't going to use it anyway, didn't he? I think. Because I think they had other ideas to do, different type ending, But no, that they went with that, which was actually Jesus. And I actually showed when I was working in Hyde Park Corner for CIC. I actually helped show. They showed it on double head, which was 35 mil. So they had a very rough print, which you basically you've got the mag sound, and then you've got then the picture, black and white print, and you sort of sync them together and show them one, so it was all in black and white and no music. But I thought, what a great, I saw the rough cut and I thought, what a great film, I think they probably wanted CIC to pick it up. A little bit too rough for them. So then obviously, the Handmade Films picked it up. I think Bob Hoskins met George Harrison at a party and that's how it sort of all went. No, Eric Idle, I think, wasn't it? I think that was the thing, because he was involved in Handmade Films. But it's just a great film. I think I'll go back. It's it's not perfect, but when they put the music to it, it's like the icing on the cake. I think it's so good.
Absolutely.
That's a great score. Very 80s, isn't it? I think as well. So.
Yeah, and it's one of those films that it was made in 79, 80. Yet it doesn't feel like it feels probably that it was of another generation.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely, but it's aged quite well. Realistically, it's aged well in terms of the subject matter and whatever. It still feels kind of fresh and still has the ability to menace. I showed some people the film at a film show some probably 6-7 years ago, and they were absolutely mortified. None of them had seen it before, and absolutely like on the edge of their seats. So still a powerful film.
Definitely. I remember taking my dad. He never went to the cinema, to see it one evening when it was in Croydon, and he loved it. He sat down and he thought it was absolutely brilliant. But I mean, it's just a tour de force, isn't it? I think Bob Hoskins and Helen Mirren, and and it's just fantastic, and all the supporting guys as well. It's so well done, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And Get Carter, perfect double bill, I think. With another Sam Peckinpah or double bill or something. But
obviously the Sly Stallone version of Get Carter, though.
Oh, forget about that. I watched it once, and I think that was a time when you could buy, you could cheaply import DVDs, and I think made the mistake of ordering that from the States. So dreadful, wasn't it? Really, isn't it? Michael Caine had a cameo. Why would he do it?
Money.
Well, same reason he made Jaws Revenge, wasn't it?
Yeah,
he had a patio.
But I still love the horror movie, demons and things like that, and the Dario Argento things. And I'm doing quite a bit of writing, especially during lockdown. I did quite a bit, so it was nice to go back. And they're not great, they're not great, but they're of the time, aren't they? I think and people used to enjoy it, and they sort of talk to a wide audience. You could always sell a horror film like Demons, couldn't you? Because everybody loved it, apart from the British Board of Film Censors who took their scissors to it too much, as usual back then.
So what is it you've got there to the right of you? I can see Fucci's Zombie. I can see Dario Argento's Inferno. What else have you got in that little stack behind you?
What have I got? Yeah, just some of the old, I think there's a copy of Shivers there, and do you want me to bring a couple to the camera?
Go on, do it.
Let's go for it.
Sorry.
Let's hope my lead they'll all probably fall down now, won't they? These you've got me reminiscing now, guys. These are two of my favourites there, must admit. So we've got, can you see it okay? We've got
what a cover.
Which I love, and they're pretty
what a cover
going on here, isn't there? Hold on, that's better, isn't it? And another favourite, which is the great Exterminator there, and it's sort of my seminal films really, because I remember going to see Shivers when I was at school.
Yeah,
so it was actually on a double bill with Flesh Gordon, which is probably the most bizarre movie, because one was sort of pro-sex and Shivers was sort of anti-sex, wasn't it? So I don't know, about the venereal disease and things, and that was just totally bizarre, the whole thing, on there. And I think I went back and saw it again with a mate of mine, I think, a few days later, we actually got in. I think I must have been about 14 or 15, and they never bothered at the Odeon Croydon. There was a little old lady on the desk there, and she's just sold the tickets. They didn't bother. I think they just wanted to get the get the heads on seats. And I think we had their school uniform on as well. It's actually crazy.
I always
and it was really interesting because I mean, Shivers. I think he got a certificate in London, but I think certain councils, I know Hampshire Council banned it. So I think you could see it if you're in Bognor or something, because you can see it. If it ever made Bognor, you can see it in West Sussex. But if you want to go to Portsmouth, they banned it, on there for some bizarre reason. But it played for months in Piccadilly. I don't know why. So it must have appealed to a certain certain type of person or something, on there, But I remember the kid going up there one day and there was this, Shivers and the big. And I remember seeing one of the review programs. A guy called David Castile did the reviews there, and it was quite good, and they had little clips and things like that, But I think it was 1 week, Death Race 2000, and then Shivers was out the following week,
I always love the setup of Shivers because they sell you this beautiful dream, and you're like, yeah, I want to go there. That I would want to live there. This is exactly where I want to be. And then they just absolutely destroy your dreams.
Genius. I mean, it wasn't his first film, was it? Because he did a couple of, shorts. That way, a shortish film, didn't he? Crimes of the Future, and because they're remaking now, aren't they? I think, and Stereo, very experimental films. But I mean, you see that. He just said that guy's talented, isn't he? And they hated it. The Canadian Film Board wanted to withdraw all the funding. I mean, it made a fortune in the States. I think Roger Corman picked it up. And it was called "They Came From Within."
Yes.
And then and in Canada it did. Opened in Canada and just amazing business. Frisons, which I always love that title. Frisons, which is Shivers in French, of course. There, So, it was great, and they wanted to actually withdraw. You're wasting our time. This guy's got no talent here. It's. I think we were going to call it Blood Orgy of the Blood or Orgy of the Blood Parasites or something. I think it's going to call it.
Yeah.
Genius. It's a brilliantly made film. I mean, it's shocking, isn't it? You're, oh my god, and those allusions at the end to Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Just genius. I think because fantastic. You would never get away with it these days, would you? I don't think.
God, no.
All a bit cheesy now, isn't it?
Whenever I go to the Barbican, I always think this could be Starliner Island.
Yeah, definitely had. I used to have a friend who used to have a flat over there, so we had, and it was spot on, yeah.
It's
and you got the market, haven't you? Right by the market, by the Grundy Market, and then you've got the sterile. Yeah, Roger Moore used to have an apartment there apparently as well. He probably only had it briefly and then moved off to Barbados or somewhere, didn't he? Probably, but or Monaco. Genius film. Yeah.
One last question from me, and it's staying with this desert island disc theme. So, by the same token, you have to take 5 books with you. What 5 books would you take with you?
Oh, I'm a sort of a non-fiction guy, really. So, I mean, again, I'll go back to my, probably my days at school where I bought, I think probably the first horror book I bought was the, what was his name? Yeah, a very famous author there. And I can't remember his name now on there, but sort of pictorial guide to horror movie. Then I went on and bought quite a few Alan Frank films as well, books, those type of reference guides. So I think they're sort of invaluable, really, But, I don't really read a lot of non-fiction though, But I did read London Boulevard the other day by Ken Bruin, which was very good there. Dennis Gifford. That was a guy that the first book I ever purchased at the big hardback book. Famous book. I think it was Pictorial History of Horror Movies, and that was by it's Dennis Gifford, and still got copies. I don't think it's the original copy. It's fallen to bits. But I went to the Fairfield halls and something like a £5. I think it was like a year's pocket money it cost me. But it's just, and especially a lot of older movies, Universal movies and things like that, And you've even got a guide to, back in the day, very popular home movies. So you've got the guide to the 8mm, what you could buy there, and it was just groundbreaking at the time. And you probably try and see if you can get that type of film. But yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of those two guys, really. But I do like a good reference book, I must admit.
Absolutely, and I'm exactly the same.
Oh yeah,
I think I'd chuck in one of those subscriptions to Unsolved magazine, or one of those. I always remember Unsolved magazine coming with this really thick book, and I think it was called oh good lord, I can't remember. It was all kind of like out of this world stuff, aliens, and talking about, and all this stuff that as a child like really messed with my head. I believed in Bigfoot. I believed in aliens. Yeah, just those memories.
I think it was sort of lucky growing up. I mean, especially back in the 70s, or even in the late 60s. All these great TV shows like Land of the Giants and Boys at the Bottom of the Sea, and on a Thursday it was great, and I loved them all. They were probably absolute rubbish, but they sort of set you up, and they were well done. Americans spent a lot of money, didn't they, on their TV series? So and that was very, very, very lucky, I think. There, and then later on, UFO, Space 1999, all that. But the Tomorrow People.
Yeah, no. The one that always sticks in my head.
What I'm talking about now, are they?
Do you remember the Nightmare Man?
Yeah.
That really messed with my head as a kid, and I was absolutely
Night Gallery
scared.
as well, with Rod Sterling.
Oh yeah.
That was a really, you'd have to start really late at night, and I remember having my parents bought me a very small little black and white portable television, but it had a little plug to put on these little earpieces. That was great. So that was that, that Sunday night sorted, and then you could be quiet then, couldn't you?
I think, yeah, absolutely.
I watched everything in black and white, black and white.
Same here.
Low, on there, but good stuff, Yeah, Night Gallery, Rod Sterling. I think that's always one that quite, it's quite a frightening series. I think,
Yeah,
I think Spielberg even did didn't he? Directed a couple of episodes as well, didn't he? And some other directors there. But it was a great time. Great time growing up.
Cool. So we will see Romford Film Festival. We'll see VHS Forever on Saturday the 26th, and I think I said 9 p.m.
Yeah.
So that's great. And obviously, back to you, Kevin. You're the host.
I was just
waffling on too long there.
No, I was just enjoying having a wee listen. I was having a wee listen there. And on the subject of books, I have to give a shout out. You're talking about books about certain periods and whatnot. There's a fantastic book that you can get on the Kindle app on Amazon called Videosyncratic, a book about life in video shops. Absolutely phenomenal book.
I'll seek that out then,
so good. It's literally just like anybody who worked in a video shop would have seen most of these customers, would have had most of these tales to tell. It's such a good book, so well written. So you should definitely check that out.
I'll seek that out. No, I'm also writing a book myself about it's called the VHS Forever Guide to Video Nasties. So I'm working on that.
Nice.
I'm probably about 30% done. Sort of another lockdown project. Let's see what I can do. But I'm trying to give it a little bit of different spin on things, really, but we'll go through all the 39 nasties plus all the other the other type of movies, so it should be quite interesting.
But on that, on you go, Spence.
I was just going to say, and am I right in thinking very quickly, just to give you the opportunity to plug the first one, Psychotronic People, has got a release, hasn't it?
It has. We were very lucky to,
nice.
Vipco. You remember Vipco, the old incarnation? They had a great sort of catalogue of stuff, zombie flesh eaters, etc. So Vipco started again in sometime in November last year, and they contacted me and said, "Oh, we'd like to have a look at VHS Forever 1, or bit of Psychotronic people." And they picked it up for release, so it was good. So it meant eventually we got a Blu-ray release, and we got a official proper DVD, not a DVD-R, proper DVD-R, and we also got the film certified by the British Board of Film Censors. So I was very I was very heartened to, we got an uncut 18 certificate, which was great. I think they'd give me a 15. I'd have been really insulted, I think. But
nobody wants a 15.
It's like no, that's what I mean. It's just on the fence, isn't it? It's like a badge of honour,
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so really lucky. So again, it's opened up the market. Now they can sell it via Amazon. They can hopefully get it into shops like HMV. The branches that are remaining, and get the film out to a wider audience, So it was good, It's and we got the great artwork, done by a friend of mine as well. So I called Ian Foxham. So it was really cool, and you can get a copy. I believe you go to the Vipco website. You can get a copy online, or you can go to eBay. They've got a store on eBay. Just type VHS Forever Psychotronic People, and also on Amazon as well. So, that's my plug. Please get a copy if you fancy it. If you enjoyed VHS One for Tom and Camden, please get a copy there.
And there you go. You've got absolutely no reason not to, guys. So
no.
if you're listening, or if you're watching, or however you are taking this interview in, go and check it out, because you should. And on that, we are going to wrap this up, Mark. Thank you very much for coming on. This has been awesome.
Thank you, guys.
I thoroughly enjoyed the conversations that we had in the selection process when we came across VHS Forever. We had some great conversation about this. So it's great to finally get to speak to you, and it's great that it went well at the fest. And just I'll let you wrap out. Just tell people. Well, I don't know. I'm just going to let you wrap out.
Well, as Spencer says, please come and I'm delighted it's showing again. At the actual Romford Film Festival. So it was on the 29th of September.
26th. Because Saturday the 26th
of
June.
26th of June.
So
where do I get September from?
2 weeks and 2 days.
Yeah, so
September, was it probably September, because that's when a normal person would hold the second festival. But no, Spencer was like, let's do it in 2.5 weeks.
Please, if you enjoyed the film at the Romford Horrific Festival, please come along and see it again. That's great, but and we should be showing a slightly improved version, I think, slightly trimmed, with more inserts and things. So
Awesome.
And thank you very much, guys, for the support. Much appreciated, especially with Nerdly, because I think you've given us a couple of good reviews. Way back in 2015, I think. You saw
nice,
which was great. Yeah, but
we are very good at Nerdly. We're nice to people.
It's nice when you see your name on a poster as well, isn't it? Oh, Nerdly, got a quote on there as well. So
nice, nice.
Yeah, no. Thank you for your support. I mean, it really appreciate it. That's great. I hope I haven't waffled on too much tonight. Anyway.
No, not at all. It's been awesome. And with that, guys, we will wrap out this show, and we will say goodbye to Mark, and then Spencer and I will quickly wrap out. But thank you again for coming on, Mark. This has been absolutely brilliant, and we'll just say goodbye there.
Cheers.
Ta-da.
Have a good evening. Take care. Cheers.
Right. There we go.
Cool.
So I guess that's it, Spencer. That's another episode of the Romfords. You can tell I've had a cider. That is another episode of the Romford sessions. This has been awesome, Mark, for VHS Forever. It was a nice little trip down memory lane in the old video stores. I miss the days of the video store, I have to say. It's I hated when mine closed. I hated it. Yeah. So we will be back because I've been lining up quite a few more of the Romford horror, and then we will be smashing into the Romford Main Festival, and we've got some great ones. I've already got a doozy of a first interview from that festival that I've not told the guys about yet. Yeah, I think I've done a good one here. But Spencer, let people know about the festival coming at the end of the month. I know we've already spoken about it, and then we'll wrap out there.
So yeah, the Romford Film Festival, 24th to the 28th of June, 5 days, £30 or £10 a day or £4 a session. We're not just a film festival, we're a nice community of people. Get a lot of people that come in, year out. So if you're in the mood to come to Romford in the sweltering heat and spend 5 days in a darkened room, please do, and become part of our slightly weird dysfunctional family. Obviously the Romford Film Festival isn't, it's horror forms a small part of it. We have every other genre. We've got some amazing documentaries, some great comedies, and a real killer opening night with I'm an Electric Lampshade and Rom Boys. So Rom Boys, I mean, amazing documentary and amazing docudrama.
And with that, we will wrap out and say, come back for the next episode. Please do not forget to hit that like and subscribe down at the bottom. And the little bell beside it, you'll get a notification every time we drop an episode. This has been awesome. I've really enjoyed doing this again, and there is more incoming. So I'll just say goodbye.